I want to tell you something that I think about a lot now that I'm here in Seoul, South Korea. And sorry about my voice, I'm just recovering from a flu. In 2016, 2017, I started learning Korean. And before you ask, no, there was no real reason, no plan, no career goal attached to it. Just curiosity, just something inside me that said, learn this. And if you know me, you know that's not strange. I just pick up the weirdest hobbies and, string along. And here's the thing, it wasn't even a good time to start. I had just landed my first full-time job in the US as a tenure track assistant professor at an R1 university. If you know academia, you know what this means. The pressure, the expectations, the publish or perish culture. That's not even the right season to pick up a hobby with no practical application. But I did it anyway. And this was a year when we didn't have AI. In fact, there was no Duolingo. IG was not even a thing. I mean, IG community for language learning wasn't even a thing then. It was mostly just correspondence courses, Anki decks, and just sheer stubbornness. Was it hard? Heck yes. Could I explain why I was doing this? No. I mean, I was a Nigerian woman in Oklahoma studying Korean, and people who would look at me like, why? And honestly, I didn't have a good answer. I just knew I had to keep going. And to be sincere, I felt like an imposter a lot of the time. But something inside me, it was quiet but stubborn. It just stayed. It said stay, and I stayed. And I'll just say that the Koreans I met along the way, shout out to them by the way, they saw it. They saw the earnestness, the sincerity, the fact that I wasn't even performing it. I genuinely loved, learning about the history of the country, the economic development. And that was rewarded. They welcomed me in, they corrected me, they taught me a lot of the, insider jokes and just the culture and everything that could really help me. And they became part of my community. And some of them are still mostly in my life today. And 9 years later, I got a Fulbright scholarship to Korea. Not because I planned it then, not because I haven't had a strategy, because I didn't. I just followed something I couldn't explain, and it refused to stop when it got really hard. I would come back from work on some days tired, and the first thing I would bring out was my notebook and, write, study, work on my pronunciation. But here's the kicker, right? The language itself, beyond just everything I learned through it, it gave me access to another world, a world where my analytical mind found new frameworks for expression, for thinking, Korean ways of seeing relationship, of community, of nature, of hierarchy, lenses that I had, but it wasn't like fully formed. I mean, we have that a lot in my culture as a Nigerian, in my Nigerian community. But to have it mirrored in Korea was almost like duality expression, and emotionally, it really cracks something open. And being in a country where nobody knows your history, your reputation, you're just a person learning and showing up, it really gave me permission to feel things I had been too busy to feel, to be present in a way I had never practiced. And if you know me, being in the moment has always been a struggle. The Korean language was just the door, and behind that door was a version of myself I didn't know was waiting. And now I'm sitting here, in Korea, living in a city whose language I fell in love with for absolutely no logical reason. And it makes me ask, what am I engaging in today that would add to my purpose tomorrow? And where are you? What are you quietly building right now that you can't fully explain yet? Because I didn't learn Korean to get it Fulbright. I learned it because something in me was curious, and I started at possibly the worst time, and I couldn't justify it to anyone, even including myself. And it became one of the best decisions of my life. So this is me encouraging you. Whatever you're quietly building, perhaps as a language, a skill, the interest that lights something up in you that you can't quite explain to anyone else yet, don't stop. Stay with it. Even when the timing is wrong, even when you feel, especially like an imposter, even when nobody gets it yet, because you never know. You don't know what it is for, but something new does. So keep going. See you in the next video. Bye.